The other thing about fear is most people look at skaters and they think we're fearless. We're actually not. I have never skateboarded and not been scared. You just learn how to basically take the fear that's typically in front of us that stops us and move it alongside of you so that it doesn't stop what you're doing. But the fear is never gone. So I think learning how to control fear and not let it stop you or cripple you is something specific to skateboarders. That's a really good quality or skill that you can transition into whatever you're going to do, relationships, business, whatever. I think it's big.
Your network is your net worth. Come listen to some of the most successful people I know share invaluable knowledge, stories, and advice in real estate, business, and beyond. This is Weiss Advice. Whether you want to take your business or personal life to the next level, look no further. Welcome back to Weiss Advice. I'm your host, Ron Weiss, and with me today is Mikey Taylor. How you doing today, Mike?
What's going on?
I'm really excited about this because it's not every day or not every episode that we get to speak with, I like professional athletes. There's something about professional athletes that move into real estate that I just like. And you, having been a professional skateboarder, which is, I don't think there are too many people out there in the world, that maybe are you the only one, professional skateboarder who's turned to real estate, investor?
Well, there's a good amount of skaters that go into real estate after from like a transactional standpoint. They sell real estate.
Got it.
So that seems to be like a go-to. And then, there's a handful of guys that became pretty big with what they're doing after skateboarding. And I think the majority of them invest in real estate passively.
Gotcha.
But as it stands right now, I think I am the only pro skateboarder to start and manage a real estate fund. I might possibly be the only one. So
awesome. That's awesome.
If anyone's listening to this and you know what any other pro skateboarders are doing this, then I'll give them credit. But I think right now I could be it.
That's awesome. So yeah, just to give a little context, I mean, everyone who's listening right now has some context already, but Mike spent 20 years as a professional skateboarder. Okay. And love to learn a little bit more about what that even entails, and then created some brands. Okay. So created a skating brand, apparel, skateboards, a shoe company, doing investing in various other things, which actually led him to create a craft beer company that got bought out by Miller Coors back in 2015. So that's an incredible story into itself. You definitely have a unique perspective on being an entrepreneur, a skater, and then now you're the principal founder of Commune Capital, which invests in multifamily real estate.
Yep, exactly. It sounds so easy once you just, speak on a high level, but yeah, I think I took a different path to get here than maybe most. And my early career started off being more passion driven. I had something I fell in love with and just didn't want to let it go. So I figured out how to get paid for it, which turned into a career. And then when it turned into a career, I was trying to fight the inevitable of a short-lived career and wasn't sure what my life afterward was going to look like. And I was kind of driven by fear at that point. And so I was trying to put myself in a good position when my career ended. And my idea of that was entrepreneurship and trying to start companies. And then along with that, I had a kind of a mentor come into my life when I was young that taught me about money, taught me about investing. So I was simultaneously investing passively in a lot of real estate. And then I started my own companies, which had the entrepreneur side. And then after Saint Archer, which was the craft brewery that we sold, I basically combined the two and went, I like entrepreneurship. I like starting business. I'm going to start a company that focuses on investing in real estate. So I have the best of both worlds now.
You combine that over. And so you were seeing the benefits of investing passively in real estate and just getting those, those paychecks, that some people call like mailbox money, right? Where you're not doing anything really besides just cutting a check.
Yeah. So how it worked with me, and for anybody who doesn't know skateboarders or the skateboard industry, we don't make a ton of money. It's not like we're baseball players or basketball players. Like we have to work after our sport. And so when I started skating, I turned pro right around 19, 20. It's when I was introduced to this guy, Randy, and he's who introduced basically behavioral finance to me first, way before investing. And that's because I didn't really make enough money to invest the way I needed to achieve financial freedom on such a short window. So he pretty much like reverse engineered the Dave Ramsey approach of getting out of debt, right? But he did that for me so that I could increase the amount of money I could invest. And then basically built up a cash reserve, started investing. And my original path with him was, okay, we're going to be really disciplined for 15 years, 10, 15 years. And I'm going to live off nothing. I'm going to put that money to work.
Wow.
And then I can have basically the interest on my investments pay for my lifestyle. That was plan one.
Wow.
And then I started really getting into business and wanting to start my own companies. And that's when kind of the path changed a little bit. But my initial plan was just invest, skate, stop skating, interest carries me, done deal.
That's awesome. And having someone in your life at 19, 20 years old, that's showing you that path. I think that's incredible.
He completely changed the trajectory of where my future was headed, without a doubt. He completely changed it. Yeah.
Sure. Most kids that age would just be spending the money on, on toys.
That was my friends.
Yeah.
That was my friend. So basically when I told my parents I was going to be a pro skateboarder, they were concerned, I guess you could say. And so my dad, not knowing what that kind of career was going to pay me, I guess to say, or how long it was going to be, his like kind of ultimatum or way to feel comfortable with it was, you need to go talk to Randy, go connect with Randy, let him help you. And so that was kind of my dad that really assisted me with that one. And then Randy just really he hooked me up, man. He really, really helped me out on that aspect.
That's awesome. What would you say, from, and I asked this, we've had a number of professional athletes. It fascinates me because there's obviously a lot of the same, character traits or, disciplinary, things about sports and being a pro that, you're at the highest level of competition. What are some of those things that for you have translated or have carried you into that entrepreneurship or into real estate investing?
Okay, so I think most athletes that become professionals have a very obsessive personality. You have to be a type that is going to be willing to put everything to the side to completely be obsessed with perfecting your craft, right? So I think that is one characteristic that makes it good moving into the next thing, that if you can hyper focus in on something and dedicate more time than the person next to you, you're going to get better at it faster.
Yeah.
The other thing is I think for pro athletes, there's so much resilience that's built in trying to master something that you're left with this new confidence that you can accomplish anything as long as you're willing to put in the work. And so experiencing on the other end, like, okay, this is going to be brutal and this is going to suck and this sucks and this sucks and this sucks. And then finally, 5, 10, 15 years later, you're able to look back and go, wow, it worked. And then you move into the next thing and you're not so, what's the right word? You're not so scared in challenge anymore. You look at challenges. Oh yeah, I know what it's like to push through this and it might take time, but like, I'm going to master this. I think those are the two things, resilience and obsession, that at least did well for me. Absolutely.
No, I was thinking similar things, especially when I think of, skaters and, obviously I grew up around, I tried it maybe once or twice, it's not for everyone, but one thing that I definitely, when you see that is that you just do the same thing, like practice a trick, like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times. And you're probably falling on your face and getting hurt. And there's just like this element of no fear almost, right? Yeah. And I remember, we're probably around the same age. Like there was this brand, like No Fear, right? That was like a skating brand. Right? And that's really, that to me is like a huge element of.
So there's two parts that I'm going to add to that, because I think it was pretty good that you touched on it. One was skateboarding. Skateboarding is so hard to learn. It's so hard to learn the first trick. The first trick is an ollie. Ollie took me probably 6 or 7 months of trying it every single day for hours until I did it one time. And then the next trick took just as long. So it kind of, weeds out the people that aren't willing to put in that type of work, so that you're left with people that are like, okay, cool. Like, I just understand that it's a time game. If I want to succeed, I just need to put in the time. So that's a good thing. The other thing about fear is most people look at skaters and they think we're fearless. We're actually not. I have never skateboarded and not been scared. You just learn how to basically take the fear that's typically in front of us that stops us and move it alongside of you so that it doesn't stop what you're doing. But the fear is never gone. So I think learning how to control fear and not let it stop you or cripple you is something specific to skateboarders. That's a really good quality or skill that you can transition into whatever you're going to do, relationships, business, whatever. I think it's big.
No, that's awesome. I love how you describe that, because a lot of us do that, and a lot of us can take that same lesson in life, is that when you have something that should be scary, and we have things all the time in our lives that are are quote unquote scary, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you learn to channel that fear, and I actually like to use like a surfing parable, maybe the same thing as skating, but if you channel that and just ride the wave, right? You ride that fear and you channel that energy, and take that to where it's supposed to be. That's actually going to put you in the right direction.
100%. So with skateboarding, basically, when we get hurt is when we try to fight a fall. When we're trying to get out of something and stop our body from doing what it's naturally meant to do, we get hurt. So what you end up learning, and why once you get to a certain level, you don't get hurt as often as when you were a kid, is because you learn to just let go and let your body perform instead of your mind trying to take over. And with fear, it consumes our mind.
Mm-hmm.
And fear, we just assume fear is bad. And fear can be good, right? There's certain things that you and I do not want to do and we shouldn't do. But we don't decipher, differentiate the fear of, I'm not going to walk out off this cliff down 200 feet because I'm going to die. It's the same fear that we register of putting ourselves in an uncomfortable situation or something new. Well, putting ourselves in an uncomfortable situation or something new has a phenomenal outcome. That's improvement, and we're getting better. So you gotta learn how to not let it consume you and separate the two out.
Mm-hmm. And just let's change gears a little bit here about going into real estate and investing. And I see that you're spending a lot of time, or maybe not a lot of time, but you're spending a lot of efforts in educating other people, and sharing the knowledge and experience that you have lived through over the past years that you've been involved in this, and now currently in going and acquiring multifamily properties on your own with your own business, your own fund. Tell me a little bit about that. Like, what's the drive behind educating other people?
So the drive comes because of the purpose. And the purpose for me starting this company was originally to give back to my community, because most skateboarders, after their career ends, it's bad. It's tough. In most cases, a skater will call one of their sponsors, ask if they can get a job. They start in the warehouse and go through that. And I don't know. I felt like I was fortunate enough to be in a different position because somebody educated me, and I wanted all my friends to be in that position. So it started with, I'm going to do everything Randy did for me for my friends. And then it just kind of spread out to like, you know what? Why does it just have to be about my friends? Like, how many people can I give back to and make an impact on their life the way this guy made an impact on mine? So that was the purpose behind it, and why we spend so much time on the education side. Even though it has nothing to do with our business, it aligns with our purpose.
Absolutely. And, there's plenty of people who are like financial coaches, and they're like, training people and all that kind of stuff. But when you're just giving back and helping the community, it means so much more, when instead of you're trying to chase a paycheck or trying to, chase a lead, someone who you can get, squeeze some money out of or whatever to teach them.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the best thing, dude. It's like, and I still get it. Like, people will be like, skaters will be on my Instagram, like, why the hell are you doing this? This is such a scam. I'm like, you realize I don't make money from this, dude. What are you talking about?
Like, who's this guy talking about financial freedom, right?
Oh man, but whatever.
Well, and you, I mean, you have a pretty big following, right? I guess most people who have the kind of brands and the kind of awareness that you have that. What's the biggest challenge that you have right now?
From a business standpoint, from a purpose standpoint, which one? There's a lot
Yeah.
of challenges.
So let's just go into it.
I would say, from me personally, a big challenge that I have, and it's definitely gotten better, but whenever you're transitioning, I mean, dude, I went from such a big transition of being a pro skateboarder into something that most skateboarders don't even think about.
Right.
And then having to move a social media following with that is challenging. So, I'm still deal with like a lot of skaters, like they want to see me skate. Like, what I'm saying? Most skaters don't want to hear me talk about money or financial. It's not even on their radar. They just want to see a kickflip. So, there's that is a challenge. From a business standpoint, we're in a unique time right now where real estate, and it's a pro and con, but basically real estate moves slowly. Like it doesn't react like the stock market does, for example, and COVID hits in March and all of a sudden stock market the next day is just plummeting. Real estate takes a long time for things to impact it the way the public perceives it. And one of the challenges right now is for the last few months, sellers haven't really been willing or accepting that there's going to be a price correction because of COVID. So finding opportunity has been hard right now.
Yeah.
The interesting thing though is because I think social media has played such a big part of educating people to know that uncertainty means opportunity, investor optimism and the desire to not miss an opportunity is at an all-time high.
Wow.
So
yeah.
we're dealing with this balance of like we are working like crazy to find deals that we perceive as a good deal, while investors are going, here's cash, here's cash, here's cash. Where's the opportunity? So there's that. What we're seeing though is you're now starting to see buildings come back online from a couple months ago that haven't been trading with the price correction. So you're slowly seeing that. I think third, another big problem or challenge that I face is right now our fund is only for accredited investors. And my purpose was initially to help pro skateboarders, and 95% of pro skateboarders are non-accredited. Right. So that's been a process for us over the last 5 months. We're getting really close to spit up a new offering that will allow non-accred as well. And I can't wait for that because now that just aligns more with our purpose. But sure. I would say those are probably the three things we feel right now.
Sure. And that last one is challenging just because there's a lot of things that go into setting something like that up. Yeah.
Look, there's another challenge. There's another challenge I didn't even think of. Like, dude, I came from skateboarding. And then when we went to entrepreneur, like a craft brewery, skateboard companies, like, dude, we're just doing what we like think we know how to do. Right? Dude, being regulated is a whole different thing. It's like I went from entrepreneurship to the corporate world in a sense. And the SEC is very strict about how you promote investment. And so I would say it's a challenge that I understand, but going into the environment of like having to have like a compliance officer and have everything approved and, that was humbling, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. That's a huge, huge change, from especially someone who has like that type of social media presence and you're just used to sharing, your journey and sharing like what you're doing and like everything. And so for you now, it's like, this is what I'm doing with this deal. And we just closed on this and we looked at, you can't necessarily do that.
Now I'm like, hey, our compliance officer, Jeff, hey, Jeff, this is what I'm going to post. This is the copy. Can I say this? It's just a different thing, but whatever. It's like, it's what I got to do this. So we do it.
Yeah. And hopefully you'll get to that point, God willing, with the new fund you're setting up, that you'll be able to open those floodgates.
That's right.
And once again, like you said, aligning with that purpose to help the people that are, and that's amazing because what you're doing is also, think about skating, but there's a bigger world out there. And what I find is that in every type of pro, whatever, there's very few people who come out the other end like you have, who are then going back and sharing, and helping that community to better themselves. And I see a lot of that happening now, especially in these days, which is, to me, why I'm kind of fascinated with it personally. I think a
Yeah.
lot of kids, what kids and teenagers, whatever, have this kind of dream that they want to be a pro something or whatever. And to
Yeah.
see people who are, not just successful in that thing, but actually have a successful life beyond that and are giving back. That's really inspiring.
Yeah. I think it's pretty cool too, just watching it happen as well. Heck yeah.
Well, thank God for for YouTube and for social media and everything. You're
That's
recording
right.
it all. You're
That's right. That's right.
documenting the whole thing, which will make it much easier to make the book, obviously. Which
Yeah.
I'm sure it's on its way. Okay, Mikey, I'd love to just jump right into the final four, which take this short, take this long, take it however you want to take it. But the first question I ask every single guest is, what is the worst job that you ever had?
Oh. So I've only had 2 jobs until I started my own companies. The first one was assisting my dad at weddings because he was a wedding photographer, and then the second was being a pro skateboarder. So, I hate doing this to my dad, but pro skateboarding was more fun than assisting him at weddings. And then after that, everything's been my own company. So it doesn't feel like a job in a sense. So I'm gonna say my dad, man.
So the same person who put you in the right trajectory. No, but what I want to ask
he's like, it wasn't bad at all. It's just he's stacked up against skating, man.
Of course, if you have 2 choices. We're going to digress a little here before we get to the second question, just because I'm curious. In terms of the actual pro skating, right? What does that entail? Like, for someone who doesn't know what that entails, like, what does it mean to be a pro skater?
Okay, so at the simplest, I guess keeping it very simple, it means that a company will sell your name on product. So typically it starts with a skateboard. So you have your own skateboard. So the company that sponsored me will sell Mikey Taylor skateboards. You have a clothing company, a shoe company. And if you get to like the highest level, they sell your signature line on every sponsor. And so what that means we do is, we do demos, contests, we film any type of marketing material for their sponsors. So if they have like a video that comes out or anything, we're constantly just filming and shooting photos for them. Gotcha. So it's kind of amazing job because you're just skateboarding every day.
Yeah.
But it's like anything, man. It's like when people start watching what you're doing and how you're doing it, there's a new type of pressure that comes upon you to perform. And skateboarding is not it's not viewed as a sport thing or a performance thing. So there is a new challenge you wrestle with, I'd say. But to keep it simple, you skateboard every day and you go where your sponsors tell you to go and you film and shoot photos and skate contests.
Gotcha. So it is different than like a professional sport per se, because there's not necessarily competitions, happening regularly.
So the interesting thing about skateboarding is most people don't skate contests. Like I didn't skate my first contest until I had been pro for 10 years. Everything came down to these video parts actually for us. And it's changed because of social media, but every few years a company would put out a video and it would be basically highlighting their skaters. And dude, it would take us 2-3 years to film a 3-minute video part for these videos. So almost all of our time went into filming pretty much.
That's crazy. Wow.
So
yeah, thanks for that enlightenment.
Yeah.
So second question we ask every guest is, if there was a book that you've read that's giving you a paradigm shift, so not just any book, but something that's made you totally think differently.
I would say, well, I have 2 books. I would say the first one would be the Bible. The second one would be Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I know they have nothing to do with one another, but those were the largest paradigm shifts I had in reading any material.
Yeah, 100%. And the latter one is a very common answer on this show.
Well, the Rich Dad Poor Dad is like, I think for most people, and this is what it did for me, was it opened my eyes. Go, wait a minute, what is going on? And then I started diving deeper in other books. So it's like it's a perfect gateway book in a sense. But there's so much in there that is so different than what we were told that I think most people have the experience of like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Are you sure? And then you end up going down this rabbit hole, and then all of a sudden you're doing this now.
100%.
So those were the 2.
Yeah, no, and I love the fact that you said the Bible, because that's also something that I'm sure it has that effect on a lot of people, but they may not be as conscious of it. Some people don't think of it in that way, but it's totally life changing and can
Well,
shift your
we,
mind.
we don't need to go too far on this, but there's a couple things that I think are really cool about it. One, there's a question, I guess 3 questions that we all need to answer, and a lot of times we wait too long in life to do it. What's your identity? What's your purpose? And what's your destiny? Who are you? Why are you here? Where do you go when you die? You have to answer those at some point in your life to even live a life of happiness, right? That's
Mhm.
answered in the Bible. 2, most people don't know this, but the Bible talks about money a lot. Talks about money and money management very frequently. So a lot of the stuff that we teach now from a financial standpoint, dude, 90 something percent of it's covered in the Bible, which is fascinating.
That's
You
pretty
know?
fascinating. Sure. That's awesome. So a third question I have for you is what's a skill or talent that you would like to learn?
Oh, ooh, a skill or a talent that I would like to learn. That's such a good question. You stumped me on one, dude. Man, a skill or talent that I'd like to learn. This is gonna sound so weird, but right now, I don't know if I have one right now. I'm not sure. I might have to come back to that one. I don't know what it is. I guess this is why I'm having such a hard time with it. I know what I'm good at. I know what I'm bad at. And I've learned that the things I'm really bad at, uh, I'll never master. I can improve on them, but trying to fix the things that I'm just naturally good at, I'd rather spend the time on the things that I am good at and be great at them.
Mhm.
If you want, you know what? No, I'm gonna get this one. If I could create a talent or just be good at something, it'd be operations. That I am not an operation person. I'm not an organized person. I always have
Mhm.
to basically bring that person into my life. If I could have that, ooh, I'd be like Elon Musk. I think I'd be like, total package.
That's awesome. Okay. So yeah, the entrepreneur doesn't necessarily have the operations right side of them, but
Well, it's you. I mean, at the simplest, I guess, simply put, you have somebody that's good at operations. You have somebody that's good at vision, right?
yeah. Hmm.
Introvert, extrovert. I think
Sure.
there's some people that are, I guess you could go left brain, right brain, or total brain thinker, right? I think Elon is total package. I'm not, you know. So if I could be that, that'd be pretty cool. I think.
Awesome. Okay. Well, you got it. We got it.
There we go. There we go. There we go.
The fourth and final question we ask every guest is, what does success mean to you?
Success means living out my purpose to its entirety. And you know what, I'm going to say this because I think this is one of the best explanations of it. Do you know who Ed Milet is?
Yes. Yeah.
So Ed Milet said this in an interview, and I thought it was incredible. But he has this idea that when he dies, he's going to see himself the way he was supposed to be, him in
Hmm.
his total purpose, right?
Yeah.
And he has this fear that he's going to meet that person and not recognize him. So his goal in life is to look as much like that person as possible. I
Right.
think that is such a cool concept around just saying, I want to live my purpose, but that is what success means to me, to live the life I was meant to live at the
Right.
fullest form.
Yeah. And just to go on a deeper level on that same thing is that means who you're supposed to be. It doesn't mean who someone
Yeah.
else is supposed to be. And that's,
Yeah.
we're not going to get asked, you know, why weren't you like that person? Why weren't you great like someone? Why weren't you the best that you could
Yeah.
be?
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. So the
Hmm.
kicker is you have to know your purpose to be able to answer that question,
Right.
right?
Which brings us back to, the Bible and,
So I'm
and
saying
knowing your purpose and your why and all that good
that's what
stuff.
I'm 100%.
Awesome. Well, Mikey, I appreciate you. Where can our listeners find you or reach out to you?
So you can, I mean, if you go to any social media, I'm on all of them. Just search my name. Instagram is probably the most common one. And then from there, you can find all my information. I have my email on there, my phone number to text me, any of our company's websites. You can pretty much track it from there.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you. I appreciate you taking the time today. And it's been a pleasure speaking with you.
Heck yeah, dude. My pleasure as well. Thank you.
Awesome. And to all our listeners, thanks again for tuning in. I hope you got a lot out of this episode. I sure did. And remember, the best advice comes only when you ask. Real quick, I have one question for you. Did you like this episode? If you did, I want to ask you a huge favor. See, the biggest thing that helps this podcast grow and that will spread this message to the whole world is that if you leave a review, a rating, and subscribe to the podcast. What that does is it basically tells the platforms that this podcast is out on is that you like my stuff and I'm doing something right. So take a few seconds out of your day, hit that subscribe button, leave a rating or review. I would be extremely grateful. Also, I want to hear from you guys. So I want to hear some feedback. If you have any questions for future episodes, please find me on LinkedIn. Send me a DM, a connection request, Yona Weiss, and I'd love to hear from you.